Hey MVPs, Rico Knows here. Going to talk to you guys about the UFC fight card tonight, and we're going to start doing result shows either the next morning or the night of. Because this one ended early, I'm going to do it now. But let's talk about it. Went 6-8 on the night. Pretty terrible. I can't remember a single card last year where we missed 3 locks. That happens. We had one MVP crash out on the server. All I'm going to tell you guys is if you're missing on your bets or you blame me for you missing or losing money, do your bets, bro. You're in control of yourself and what you bet. I don't mean to brag or anything, but some people do make money. Some people make money, and some people use the information given to make smart choices. It's the reality of the situation. But let's talk about the fights for a second here. First fight of the night. And I'm doing this because I want to have notes on every single fighter. Let me make that clear. That's why I'm doing this. I want to be able to go back and look at result shows, and I can remember what I said before the fight and then after it. So what did we learn in this fight? Joe Solecki's still who we thought he was. He is a grappler. He took this fight on 1 week's notice. He's a grappler, not a striker at all, and he's in there, and he's game to be a grappler. And what you have here is a crotch sniffer and Narillo Aliv. He cannot really fight. Like, he can't. He won the fight. He was dominant because he gets a takedown and everything. But if you're fighting a guy with 1 week's notice and you can't go out there and finish him, you're a decision merchant, and we hate decision merchants because you can lose. This wasn't even a unanimous victory, right? It was a 29-28. He lost a round, for crying out loud. So that's a dangerous thing. And if Vegas is going to keep his odds around 750, we don't need to be betting on him. So I don't know if we'll see him as a lock in the future. I'll leave it at a lean or tell you to fade him, but I don't necessarily think he's a lock. We'll see who they pair him up with next. Nonetheless, got the prop right, goes the distance, and he won by points. So there we go. Second fight of the night, Fatima Klein. Still not an 850 favorite. Didn't look the part at all. The only issue here is Victoria Dudikova. She slapped one of her coaches after the fight, which I think was her husband. She quit in the octagon, which you can't be doing. You can't just quit on us. So we can't believe in her. But Fatima Klein is good. Vegas just makes you pay for her like she's that way too good. So we can't go there either. So that's something we learned on that fight. Congratulations for getting it right. Magomed, fake is due to lie. Magomed was out of shape. I think he didn't have the cardio to fight. Bruno Lopes took it out of him. Bruno Lopez is a terrible fighter. All he did was grind and kind of clinch you up against the cage, like a Neil Magny type clinch against the cage. It brings nothing to the table that scares me. But Magomed absolutely shit the bed as an undefeated fighter. First loss of his career, and he lost to a guy who's not that elite, and it was our first miss of the locks. It sucks. Yes, the over rounds hit. It went the distance. I told you those were 2 bets you needed to take. One of them was a value bet. One was a prop. When I tell you guys to take these bets and somebody will have like a parlay and they'll be like, oh my God, I lost all my money. At that point of the night, we have 4 props that hit, and we got 2 out of the 3 right. You just have to decide how you want to gamble on this. And I'm not here to tell you how to gamble on it because that's not what I do. I analyze fighters. I don't analyze your betting strategy. I try not to, right? Everybody's different. But I will recommend to you is if you're going to bet in the UFC, you have to be content with understanding that certain fights, it's not college football. It's just not. People are going to lose. A minus 260 is going to lose all the time. Look how many minus 260s lost or 200s lost on this fight card. The amount of minus 200s that lost on this fight card is insane. Literally 1, 2, 3, 4. I could count 4 of them here that essentially lost. Okay, and you could even go to 5 if you count Jose Johnson. I'm counting Amanda Ribas. I don't know what the odds were at fight time. 200 is not what you think it is. It's not the same as a football team or anything like that. And these fights can end in an instant. So it sucks. And we try to post a chase, and the chase parlay didn't hit either. And another chase didn't hit, and another chase didn't hit. Bro, sometimes you need to cut your losses. You know, personally, I bet 2 units on this fight card. 2 units on the fight card. I pick every fight. There's locks and there's parlays. And one guy asked, hey, Rico, did you bet this? I'm curious. What'd you bet? That guy who asked, hey, I'm curious, what did you bet? Because I lost all my money. He crashed out on the server a couple fights later. Bro, we picked over 500 fights last year. 500 fights. And you're talking about the first 14 of the year, and you crash. We go 6-8. First 14 of the year, and you crash out. That's crazy. And we picked them at 60-something% last year. And when I say last year, that's like a couple weeks ago. To see somebody crash out, and then he wrote that he lost all this money in the last 3 days. Dude, that's on you. I don't know what to tell you. How? What did you bet? Ohio State won. right? I told you take plus 7.5 on Penn State because even if they lose, they're not going to lose by more than a touchdown. They haven't ever lost by more than a touchdown. I don't know. I can only say so much. I can't do it for you, bro. It's gross. Ernesta winning. I made it a lock. We got it right. She beat Nicola Cagliari. What I remember about Ernesta is I told you she throws a lot of significant strikes. If you guys didn't know, those were two of my personal bets tonight. Was Ernesta significant strikes? I bet on her to land significant strikes over 70 or 80. She cashed almost in the first round. Literally almost in the first round. It was insane. She was just doing her thing. She was out there just touching people up. So remember, she has no knockout power. She can avoid takedowns. She is athletic, but there's a limited skill set there for her, and it is what it is. Nicole actually bangs. She hits pretty hard. She bangs, but she just has no real fight acumen, and there's no way for her to win when somebody's more athletic than her or bigger, stronger than her. She needs to go down in weight class. Jacoby Smith knocked out Preston Parsons, looked the part, and he was worth every bit of that minus 620. I wouldn't parlay a minus 620 for the most part, but maybe you're gonna get a really terrible odds on Jacoby Smith his next fight for sure. He's vicious, bro. He wins by knockout, and I told an MVP, shout out to Sultan of SWAT, I told the MVPs in the initial video, if Jacoby Smith wins in the first round, he's going to win in the first round, or he's going to lose because we're going to get to that third round where he's got no cardio and Preston Parsons will win in the third. So he went out and bet, and he said Preston Parsons by points or by decision, or we're going to go with Jacoby Smith by knockout in the first round. And that's exactly what happened. Now, Jacoby Smith is supposed to be a chain wrestler and go out there and get all these takedowns. Bro's vicious. He's athletic. He called out the champ after the fight. He's just a very athletic guy, explosive in his fighting ability, and it's pretty awesome to see. He has an athletic advantage over anybody he's fighting. Preston Parsons, very disappointing. He's obviously going to be banished to the early prelims for the rest of his UFC career, however long that's going to last. But he's looking like he's on the downslope of his career. He really is. Thiago Moises and Trey Ogden. We got over rounds, and it went the distance, but we lost this fight. And what it really comes down to is Trey Ogden ends up in a down position. He got advice from his corner in the third round. He went for a takedown, and he just slipped. And he couldn't get up from a world-class black belt on top of him. He just stayed in his guard, and he didn't know how to use the fence to stand up. He has great fight IQ, and in this fight, he just refused to get up. It was so weird. I don't know if he was on the take. I don't know what that is, but that's a terrible way to fight. And I still don't believe in Thiago Moises at all. Yes, if he's in a dominant body position, he will stay there and not lose the position, but there's no finish in him. He was not doing damage to finish it. He was not trying to submit him. He was just staying in top, and like when you see a jiu-jitsu black belt, jiu-jitsu practitioner that's so much better than everybody else in the world, they're going to do what Mackenzie Dern did in the main event. They're going to go for it. And even when they're on their back, they're going to start looking for arm bars and triangles and kimuras and all kinds of stuff, right? Omoplatas, whatever. And it didn't happen. And Thiago Moises just irks me for that reason. Marco Tulio knocked out Ior Pretoria after doing a knee to his nuts. Ior Pretoria has lost 5 of his last 6. I think the odds were probably warranted now that you think about it. I kind of told people take Marco Tulio on the chase parlay, but the chase parlay included Tulio and Medic and Bashi, which is outrageous. And so Tulio handled his business, improved his worth. Jose Johnson, exactly what I thought he was, just not a tough guy. Tall, stick figure, didn't make weight. You can't be 6 feet tall and 125 pounds. You just can't be. Felipe Bunes, dog, fighter, doing his thing, and he gets a tap out here, winner by submission. Yeah, he's just a bad dude. You're from Brazil, bro. You know what you're doing. Go out there. You're gonna have an advantage on the mat. Get it done. So I like Felipe Bunes. Eurosmetic against Punalei Soriano. Eurosmetic fighting in front of his parents got knocked the fuck out, bro. It's just crazy. He's never been to a decision in his life. He either wins by knockout or submission, or he loses by knockout or submission. He's never been to the judges. So I think the lock moving forward is not going the distance, right? He's not going the distance. I cannot believe he got floored like that in the first round. I did not see that coming. I don't think anybody did. Obviously, the Vegas didn't see it coming. They would have made Soriano the favorite to some extent. It's just nuts. It's unfortunate. It's the fight game. It's what happens. Puna Hele, this dude looked like he was in phenomenal shape. He had a ripped six-pack and everything. Remember, he's moved down a weight class, so he got rid of the baby fat. He's taking his nutrition serious. He did cry after the knockout, but doing his thing. Austin Bashi Christian Rodriguez. I'm going to tell you guys something. You guys aren't going to want to hear this. And I don't believe in Austin Bashi after watching the fight. I saw Austin Bashi on the Contender Series, and I chalked it up to nerves. I talked about this in the pre-video. I was like, he got a little gassed. He got a little winded, but he found a way to win, and he ended up getting the win in the second round. But he didn't impress me because he just didn't run through a guy. So it's just one of these things where his skill set is jiu-jitsu. He's got every muscle in the world, and he doesn't use any of them to inflict damage. He's just a really nice kid who probably works out really hard in the gym, but there's no damage involved. And when you don't have damage, you're not going to get it done. And Christian Rodriguez looked calm, cool, collected, and did what he does. He beats prodigies. He beats prospects. He beats anybody coming up who thinks they're good. So, yeah, the kid's still young. He's 23. Wrestling background, strong. Got great takedowns. Or not really great, just grueling. He's out there to just get a takedown after takedown after takedown. I want to tell you guys something. When I used to teach soldiers about guillotines, everybody talked about guillotines. Oh, I want to learn how to do a guillotine. So I would teach them about the anatomy of a blood choke. Guillotine, this, that, all this stuff. We would talk about it, hip in, up, and we would practice guillotines from your knees, on the ground, in the guard, on top, standing, all this shit. We would do like 5 different ways to teach a guillotine. And then when we were done, I once had a student ask me, and he said, hey, Sergeant Rico, would you use a guillotine in a street fight? And I said, no. That would not be my go-to. And he said, why not? I said, because the guy that I'm choking, he could easily just start biting my forearm or rip my balls off while he's down there. And I explained to them that, yes, these moves work in jiu-jitsu and in submission training and when we're rolling with our partners and stuff, but sometimes these moves aren't it because somebody could just do something to you. He's like, well, what would you do? I said, well, I'd maintain my distance and utilize my secondary weapon. He's like, what are you talking about, secondary weapon? I said, bro, I'm talking about right here, my secondary weapon. I'm not talking about, like, we don't have to go out there and try to win it, right? So and I'm bringing this up because when you're in the cage, these guys train for years upon years with the mindset and the mentality that they're going to win with a submission or a blood choke or a particular jiu-jitsu named move. And they're not doing anything else until they get that move off. You feel me? And it's because you've been training for 20 years of your life without being punched in the face. You've been training without certain ways of doing it. So what I'm trying to say is, like, if you go to a gym, let's say you go to a gym and you train jiu-jitsu, which is Austin Bashi's done, he said 200 jiu-jitsu matches or something like that. That means he probably went to a gym specifically for jiu-jitsu, and you have jiu-jitsu class. You know what doesn't happen during jiu-jitsu class? You never punch. No one gets hit in the face. It's against the rules of the sport. Let's say you're a wrestler and you go to wrestling class. You know what happens? You know what never happens in wrestling? You never get choked. You never get punched. You never have any ligaments manipulated. There's all these rules because of sportsmanship and safety. So when you train with those parameters in place, and then you magically become 23 and we think, well, we're going to put it all together and you're become a meat eater and you're going to start punching and striking and killing. Like, you're not real. It's not real. You don't know what it takes to take somebody's life. So I say that because as a hand-to-hand combat instructor in the military, my goal was to ensure that you win the fight, to move on, to get home to your parents and kids and wife and everybody you know, right? So, like, when I teach, it's a little different. So when I watch these fighters and they don't have that killer instinct, it bugs the shit out of me, number one. But number two, I can see it because I've seen it 100, if not 1,000 times. I've trained so many fighters who are like, yeah, I'm a black belt in Taekwondo and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, so what do you do, bro? He's like, well, I'm trained with the katana. I'm trained with these sticks. I'm trained with Kali. I'm trained with it. And I'm like, bro, hold up. Hold on, bro. You talking about competitions and fucking parades? You talking about breaking boards and bricks? You talking about karate chops? And that's how I feel about Austin Bashi. He's just a very well-trained sportsman. And he hasn't transitioned to inflicting damage. And if you need another example of that, it's Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern is a world-class jiu-jitsu fighter who, for the first couple of years of her life, never inflicted pain on anybody, just looked to finish her fights. When you go back and watch this fight against Amanda Ribas, she's actually throwing strikes in the pocket. She's actually going out there and throwing combos. There's a point where she gets taken down with a wizard shoulder toss, and she throws an elbow and cuts Amanda Ribas open. So now you have damage and you have blood, and now you're going to win a round for that. She would have never done that 4 years ago. So I think where Austin Bashi is right now is he's just a glorified grappler. He's a glorified wrestler who, in those moments when you're in a position and you have the ability to throw an elbow, he doesn't throw it. You have the ability to strike, he doesn't strike. He doesn't have it in him because he hasn't trained it. It hasn't been incorporated in his training, and it's not innate to him. It's not second nature. It's not what he does. He has to think to do that. You get what I'm saying? Like, he's rolling, and then he'll hear a coach, and the coach will be like, elbow, and he'll be like, oh, yeah, I can elbow here. He has to think to do that. It's analysis, right? It's paralysis by analysis. When you're a jiu-jitsu practitioner, you're playing chess. You're doing a move, I'm doing a move. You're doing a move, I'm doing a move. You're doing this, and you're doing chess the whole time. Your mind's preoccupied with this jiu-jitsu thing. And you need to learn to strike. And everybody just thinks it's a squabble. Everybody thinks it's just fighting. No, it's not just fighting. There's a difference to it. So when you watch Christian Rodriguez out there, and he's just doing damage when he needs to do it. And he's in there, and that's why they say, oh, that's dirty boxing. You ever heard that? Dirty boxing. You guys ever seen a boxer? When do they kick? When do they go for a takedown? They don't have a clue what they're doing. Sometimes the guy will be on them. They don't know how to get up. They don't know what they're doing. It's because they haven't trained MMA, mixed martial arts. That kid right there, Austin Bashi, to me, he ain't it. And I think you're going to get favorable odds on his underdogs every time. The Vegas is going to love him because he's tough. He's in shape. He's got every muscle. He's got all the hype. Everybody wants to bet on him. This was Vegas' dream, bro. Vegas made more money on that fight than all the others. I promise you. And shout out to Christian Rodriguez. Just got it done. Roman Kopylov, Chris Curtis. It's unfortunate what happened here. Roman Kopylov is exactly who I thought he was. He's a tough, one of the MVPs. Shout out to one of the MVPs. Before I get carried away with this, he wrote in the Discord server on the stage tonight. He said, I'm glad I watched the videos because if I had seen these two guys in the bar, I would have bet all my money on the buff black guy, Chris Curtis. He's got every muscle in the world. But Chris Curtis reads comic books. Now, I will give Chris Curtis a lot of credit. For this particular fight, he put out a lot more volume than normal. He usually doesn't put out this much volume, so he put up a good fight. He actually impressed me with his ability and his durability to roll through the punches and kind of get away with it. But Roman Kopylov is a mean dude, right? These are two left-handed fighters. Roman Kopylov's jab was just mean, vicious. And obviously, he wins the fight by KO with a head kick with 1 second left in the fight. Shout out to Mark Smith, bum ass, because we had Kopylov by points, and it would have been Kopylov by points. Now, it was 1-1 going into the third, according to the sports, or not, according to the judges. The fight was 1-1, meaning Kopylov had to win the last round by points, and he was winning the last round, especially with that head kick. If you just let them go for the last second, we win by points, and everything goes well. And that's a miss on my part. By the way, that Kopylov points was a miss in the prop value bets. The prop value bets down here. It was purple before I made it red, just so you're aware. Next fight, Cesar Almeida against Abdul Al-Hassim, Razik Al-Hassim. I don't like this fight. I told you I didn't want to try to get it right. I don't like it, and I was kind of torn. And as a matter of fact, you guys don't know this, if you were watching me create the chart, when I was putting in the names, I think I put in Cesar Almeida one time, then Abdul, then went back and forth, and I finally just said, you know what? I don't want to make it Cesar Almeida because I don't want anyone to bet it. And he won. And it sucks when you get the 260 right and you don't make that a lock and parlay with everything. But hindsight's 20/20. So what did I see from Cesar Almeida? I saw exactly what I think he is. I think he's a terrible fighter. He was clipped at one point, put down, has no wrestling acumen, has no real ability to fight outside of punching, and his punches go straight. And Abdul Razik Al-Hassan's punches go wide. So when somebody's punching wide, those don't land before the guy who's going straight do. Now, at some point, Abdul Al-Hassan was about to finish this man, was really putting the hurt on him, and he just got a little zealous and doesn't have the ability to fight. They tell me he's a judo guy. I don't see it ever. I don't see any takedowns. As a matter of fact, in future evaluations of Abdul Al-Hassan, we will never mention his judo acumen because it's not part of his skill set. It's not part of his fighting acumen of any sort. He doesn't bring it into the cage at all. It's like if I told you this guy's a really good juggler and then he gets in the cage and he never juggles. It doesn't matter if he's a juggler. You know what I'm saying? So Al Hassan has ability or a skill that he once did in his country or somewhere in the world. He never brings it in here, so I don't want to hear it. It's like, no, let me tell you. It's like if I told you a player used to play quarterback, but he plays wide receiver now. Like, what's the point? Who cares? He doesn't throw the ball anymore. Stop mentioning the fact that he used to be a quarterback. Well, it really helps him when he's reading the defenses and all that. No, it doesn't, bro. He's a receiver now. Let's talk about the way he runs routes and catches passes. So we'll talk about Abdul and his limited skill set moving forward, but there's no way he should be talked about in a positive manner. Dude sucks. He's just a one-punch knockout artist, if that, and they got to come from a wide angle. It's trash. Cesar Almeida, he can knock you out if he's punching straight, and he is. And I think Vegas is going to keep favoring him, and if they keep moving up in competition, I don't think he's any good. So we'll be fading him hard. Every time I see it, I'll fade him. I promise you. Santiago Ponzinibbio against Carlston Harris in the co-main event. When I talked about this fight before the fight, I told you guys I don't like the way Harris punches. And I talked about it. It was like knocking on the door. And I decided it's not like knocking on the door after watching the fight. It's actually an effective punch if it lands. But what it's equivalent to is if you were at Chuck E. Cheese and you were playing whack-a-mole. Or you can say he throws a clubbing right hand. He wants to club you with it. It's super awkward and weird, and it's coming from long angles and all this stuff. And he eventually got rocked, and Santiago won this fight by knockout because Santiago hits hard. He's a muscle-bound dude, and he throws it straight. Now, Santiago did look a little shaky at times. His kicks weren't quite there. I was not impressed with Santiago in this performance. I was grateful that we got it right. It wasn't something I'd make a lock. I was just happy it was there. Now, I will say this. I hate Carlston Harris so much. I almost said Ponzinibbio by lock, which would have been great. But I didn't. I try to limit myself to no more than 5 locks on a card, for the most part. And I never want to get it wrong, right? I hate getting it wrong. But I didn't do it. I just hate Carlston Harris that much. But you know what? I shouldn't, man. He fought fine. He fought fine. And then the main event, Amanda Ribas was doing what she normally does. Went around, figure it out, just be a better fighter. Mackenzie Dern is so improved. It's real. She actually shot a takedown and got it. Offensive wrestling is something she's never done. That's not what you do in your native country of Brazil. Once again, Mackenzie Dern, one of the very best jiu-jitsu fighters in the world, right? Former world champ. Gi, no gi. She can do it all. And what you guys need to understand about Mackenzie Dern is she got to the UFC with only that skill set. Over the last 5 years now, she's been training. So she now has wrestling. She now has takedowns. Her strikes look good. And she just looked better. She's improved so much. And she went out there and did work and finished this fight in the second or third round. Really impressed. Really, yeah, it was 1-1 going into the third. So really impressed with Mackenzie Dern. I guess it was a great value bet at plus 154. I know some MVPs took it on the value bet, so congratulations. Looking at this, if you look down at the bottom down here, we went 2-3 on moneyline locks. We've never lost 3 locks on a card, so that was the very first for us. In 42 cards last year, never missed on 3 locks in my life. I apologize to the MVPs. We lost 8 MVPs during the fight card. You know, people crash out and leave all the time. I just tell you that we're consistently great. We are over 60%. We were 62% on all the fights regardless. Locks were 83% last year. It hurts missing 3 locks on one card. I guess I would just say get all the locks out of the way. Get all the misses out of the way on one card. I just hope we can climb out of this and get it right. I know one MVP said, hey, Rico, you've been really locked in and hitting all the bets since you got to the new house. You know, we just moved into a new home, Kim and I. And since we got here, we've had a really good run on the bowl games. I think we had a really good run on week 14. If that was it week 14, then the championship week was rough, but there were a bunch of coin flips, and then the bowl games went pretty well. So, it's first bad week of UFC at the new house, and it's a terrible feeling. I hate it. It is what it is. Moneyline leans. We're going to go undefeated, but we missed the main event. Still, pretty good, 75%. So if you guys see a lean, let me tell you guys something. If you see a lean and it's a minus 138 like this, that does not mean parlay it, bro. Just go bet it straight across. We're going to be good on moneyline leans. Even last year, even if you don't make a ton of money on the lean, let me just say that. You can bet $20 on this and only get back 10. But I'm telling you, you're going to hit on over 60, I think it was 66% last year on leans alone. We're going to get them right. They're just coin flips. They're just not parlayable. But we're going to win those. Trust. If I say it's a lean or a lock, we're going to win those by the end of the year. You don't have to parlay them. You can just bet them straight across and you're going to be okay. Value bets. Last year, we finished the year 42% on value bets. They're always long shots. If we hit them, they would be great. But they're not, man. They're just fucking gross. And what I would say is when you hear me say this is a value bet, you can fade it and you'll be doing really well. You would have batted 80% tonight on the non-value bill. You could have made all those locks. And you would have been doing just fine. We could have made Cesar Alameda, Trulio, Thiago Moises, Jacoby Smith, and Jose Johnson all locks. We could have made those 5 locks and round robined them. So here's what I'm going to tell you to do. MVPs, you guys are smart. When I make a fight a value bet, round robin the fade, bro. Round robin the favorites. Because it's real. Even last year, right? We finished at 42. That'd be 58%. 58% you would have got it right. Now, the odds are going to be terrible. I don't know what you're going to get back on your money. But some profit's better than none. I'm just saying. We only got one value bet right. And it was Felipe Burns at plus 152. Damn shame. It is what it is. Parlays overall 0-6. We're going to climb out of this hole. We finished last year at 56% on parlays. We're going to climb out of the hole, but it's going to be tough. We're going to get there. But missing all 6 is brutal, and missing the round robin because of all the missed locks. I know that hurt. I saw Natasha, one of our MVPs, who's been around for since day one. I feel terrible when she misses, but she said, hey, even the round robins miss, and I'm like, yeah, they fucking hurt. And by the time I said, yeah, they hurt, she was already off the server. She's already said, I'm out of here, bro. She's probably gonna go drink it off. I don't know. Okay, it just sucks, bro. It sucks. Parlay and prop locks. That's the ones that were green. We had no prop green. I didn't mention anything and say to you, hey, this is going the distance and it's a lock. That did not happen once on this card. Nothing was green in that regard. But these parlay locks were these 3 right here because they were green. Missed all 3, so we're 0-3 on the parlay prop locks. Parlay prop leans, 5-0. 5-0 on the prop leans. Somebody said, I should have parlayed them all. I don't agree with that, but betting them straight across, unit management is really important, y'all. If you got $300 to your name and you put all $300 on this parlay or this parlay, like that's you, dude. I don't want to talk to you. I would recommend $20 bets with that $300 and spreading it all around the card. And if we hit, and we're rich and all that other good shit. But I'm telling you, you would have been okay because we hit 5-0 on leans. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those black leans you see there, going the distance, overrounds, going the distance, and a leave by points. Those were all the 5 leans on this card. Got them all right. The value bet was going the distance in this particular fight, which it did, and that was purple. That was the only value bet we hit. What did we miss? These 3 parlays were considered value parlays, and value props was right here in Medic. We missed that as well. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. We missed one more. Where did we miss? Oh, Kopylov was value. 5. Is that it? Yeah, that was it. 5. So we missed 5 prop value bets, and then props overall were 6-1. That can't be right. Yeah, nope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-2. Sorry about that. Props overall 6-2. So, and I'll have to fix the percentages. Apologies. But that's where we're at. All percentages will be updated and fixed. Results will be out. Results, we're going to keep these episodes so I can go back to them so I can remember what I said about the fighters right after the fight. And you can go look it up too if you wanted to. So we're going to keep this on the channel. Remember, if you go to Patreon and you look at the different collections is what they're called. And I hope you MVPs use the collections. But if you go to the homepage, let me set this visual as a paid member, excuse me, because when I look at my page, it's a little different from when you guys look at it. Here you go. So when you go to the homepage, maybe on your app, I don't know, but if you go here, there's something called collections. That's where you should go. And in collections, you will see result shows. We have 55 episodes in the result shows. Excuse me, I didn't mean to pull this on the entire page. There it is. So we have result shows here. You can go look at them and you will see UFC result shows from now on. This is where you get the UFC picks in there. You should always be using the collections. It's easier to find the videos and the messages, okay? We go see a notification and you miss, and this is what happens. We lost 3 more just now while I was talking, just 2 hours ago. Okay, it happens, brother. That's life. So shout out to MVPs. Thank you guys for being here. It's going to be a long year. We're going to get it right. We're going to be good. You'll win a ton of money if you know what you're doing. Shout out to the MVPs. Thank you guys for rocking with me. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Peace, y'all.